Hello everyone. We are now at IP Camp, 6th IP Camp in Çeşme. This is Mustafa from Patent Effect Podcast. So I'm really happy today to be honored to host Bruno from Belgium. So Bruno is one of our distinguished speaker at IP Camp event in Çeşme. And I would like to thank you, Bruno, to be one of our guests in Patent Effect Podcast. Welcome again.
Thank you, Mustafa. It is my pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. So, as you noticed, that this episode will be in English, not Turkish. So it will be a 20-minute episode with Bruno. So I will ask some critical questions about technology transfer, licensing, executive society, and the effect of LAS to technology transfer professionals and IP professionals working in the R&D companies. So Bruno, let's start with yourself. So who is Bruno and what are you doing and what is your professional and what is LAS also?
Well, I am, by training, I'm a lawyer with some international background. I did studies in Belgium and afterwards in the United States. And I became very much involved in intellectual property in general and then in patent litigation 20 years ago when I joined Bird Bird, where I founded the Belgian IP department. I have a lot of experience in international and what we call cross-border patent litigation. That is where patent disputes are fought out at different countries at the same time in Europe. And that's actually how I built out my expertise in patent disputes. At the same time, I was a very big lover of technology transfer agreements and deal making relating to intellectual property. And that's how I became a member of LESI. Mm-hmm. LESI stands for the Licensing Executive Society International, which is by origin a US organization who started in the 60s, but then who actually expanded also in Europe. The first non-US chapter, by the way, was the Benelux chapter, which comprises the countries of Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And I'm a member of that organization since 1992. I was president of LES Benelux for many years, a board member for 15 years. And I also became a board, not a board member, but I became a counsel to the international board. That was in 2008 and 2009. And for almost 10 years, I also have chaired the LESI European Committee, which was actually the committee within LESI in charge of the relationship between LESI and the European institutions. That is the European Commission, the European Patent Office, the Alicante Trademark Office. And in that capacity, I have also contributed a lot to initiatives that had to do on one hand with technology transfer and with intellectual property. And I was a bit the go-between the European Commission officials and this wonderful organization.
Oh, it's impressive career, so I really admire that, Bruno. So we met with you personally in Yokohama.
In Yokohama, that was in May.
Which in May,
yeah.
End of May, right?
End of May.
End of May. It was an annual conference of LAS International. So yes. It was the first time, by the way, for being in LAS International Conference.
Okay.
So I'm acting as a general secretary of LAS Turkey to, for creating an ecosystem in technology transfer and IP management. But it was the first time for me. So I really feel the real power of LAS network, LAS ecosystem in Yokohama.
Yeah.
What do you think about this great ecosystem in network in LAS?
Well, you tasted probably in Yokohama at the international conference what LES is about. So LES is composed of national chapters where, of course, practitioners in IP, and that can be private practitioners, IP counsel in companies, or technology officers working at universities, or patent attorneys, trademark attorneys. That's the membership of LES. Is composed in the first place of memberships who have their local chapter. But the real value of LESI is that once every year at least, and several occasions on a regional level, these national chapters meet, and there are really the opportunities to network and to make contacts, professional contacts, with people from other countries. And that's what I do for so many years. I'm trying to attend almost all these international conferences because they bring you in touch with so many people, and it is also a relatively cheap way to learn what is going on in IP.
Yes.
Because the membership to LESI is relatively cheap, and if you compare it to the cost of certain training courses that you have to follow during one day or even an afternoon, then a membership to LESI plus the travel cost that you may have to expose once or twice a year is really value for money. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So in Yokohama, there was more than 600 participants worldwide, right?
Yes, that was a rather exceptionally large conference, very well attended conference, primarily because the Japanese themselves were so predominantly present. I think they made more than half of the attendance, which normally is not the case. Normally, if the international conference takes place in the hosting country is sometimes responsible for a maximum a quarter or a third, but never half or more. So 600 is really a big number, a big success.
I see. It's my chance to see that the most crowded one of the most crowded conference. So the next year in 2020, it will be organized in Berlin, right?
It will be in Berlin in May, and probably for Europeans a much more accessible.
Yes, for the Turkish IP professionals, it can be another advantage to participate this kind of conference, which is organized in Berlin, very close to Turkey. So just 3 hours flight. So, but first they need to be a member of LAS Turkey. Indeed.
Well, theoretically, you could register as a non-member, but it is more expensive and you would find it a bit lost. So it's always better to join LES Turkey first, maybe to attend a couple of meetings of LES Turkey, and then jointly go to the international conference. There's also the international delegates meeting where people discuss the working of the society. There are initiatives where people at national level can get involved in the committees. We have industry committees, we have publication activities. I myself also chairing the publication committee of LES. I need to mention that unlike most other IP organizations who just organize meetings for their members, LES has a journal, the LES Les Nouvelles Journal, which is a high quality,
very high quality
journal publishing articles of really scientific value with a mix of topics between law and economics on everything that has to do with technology transfer.
Yes.
For instance, the September issue now is completely devoted to the implementation of the European Trade Secrets Directive in all the national member countries. In detail, every law is explained. Other issues contain very interesting articles and contributions about economical theories of valuation of technology and so on. And you have that magazine, that subscription, for free, at least included in the membership subscription.
That's a great advantage for the members. So it can be read by PDF version. Also,
you can find it online on the website, but you receive it in paper. That is an ongoing discussion whether we should keep the magazine in paper. But it is something that LES makes no compromises about. So when you become member of LES Turkey, you are automatically member of LES International.
Exactly.
You are invited to attend also these international conferences, and you receive automatically every quarter the LES Nouvelle Journal.
To be honest, I really feel this LAS network power in Yokohama. But before that, now we are in the IP camp organization in Çeşme. This is the 6th one. But when we back to the first one in 2014, we also invited LAS professionals, LAS members from worldwide as a trainer. So that creates a great opportunity for me as a person, for other participants in the IP camp to get engaged with these professionals very, very, very closely in the sessions, in the evening dinners, so on. So after this kind of relationship, the IP professionals in Turkey can really guide themselves and their IP strategy to asking some questions, this context after this kind of conferences.
Yes.
So this is really advantage from my point of view.
Yes, it is a professional network. It is not a business network in the first place. So the society is not meant in the first place as a network where you draw immediate business, where you do business on the spot with your partners, but it is a network where you have sources of information. So for many years I am a member of LES, and if I have a question about IP law in a certain jurisdiction, I always have someone on the list that I can call and I can say, what do you think? Who should I call? Where should I go to? What is the current situation? It is a fantastic network for obtaining information, for being up to date about current IP issues, about economical issues in the IP licensing world, and everyone is doing this on a voluntary basis, and that we felt that very strongly today also. All the speakers are from LES. We do this for free.
Yes.
And I have been trained by people who did it at my time when I was a junior lawyer, and I now convey my own knowledge and that tradition to more junior lawyers now. And that is a very, very good way of connecting, because it is through this voluntarism that I think LES has its power and find always the best people to contribute. We are not paid for what we do. We do this because we love our job, and we think that this is an extra dimension that we give to our professions. We all have jobs at home. We all have families to feed.
Yes, exactly.
But we contribute a considerable part of our free time to this sort of activities because it adds value to our network and it gives us access to a lot of information for free.
That's a great advantage. So I would like to also thank you again to being here as one of valuable trainer in IP camp. So what do you think about today? How did you see that?
Today was very interesting.
The
the choice was very good. Indeed, patents beyond patents. I think it suggests two things. First of all, it was about trade secret protection, of course, but I like the title of the conference, Beyond Patents, and I think the starting point for looking at trade secrets, you cannot look at this area of trade secrets without knowing also the basics of IP and the basics of patent law. It's very important to see it is beyond patents, it is thinking ahead and beyond what is currently available as protection. It is not a protection that stands on its own. I would not like that to be the case. And the topics were very well chosen. The panel of this morning, Rob McInnes is an excellent opening speaker, is a very, very experienced lawyer as well. I mean, the plate of speakers was well chosen. The audience was very young, slightly less interactive than I had hoped, but that is maybe also because of the language issue. LES works in English.
That's the kind of problem.
LES works exclusively in English, and that is sometimes strange. But in the Benelux, for instance, where people speak Dutch, French and German, English then is the working language, and that brings people together. And there is a very strong tradition to keep English as the working language, and that allows everyone to actively listen, not always to everyone to actively participate, but it breaks barriers at the very least.
To be honest, it's a problem in Turkey. So most of the participants in this kind of events are really shy to be involved in the discussions. I know they know very well English language, but they're standing a bit shy. I think it will be changed in the near future.
It's a bit cultural. I was last month in China, and the previous time that I was in China was in 2009. So it was almost 10 years between those two events, and you see how the audience changes. You see those Chinese people, they were hardly speaking English 10 years ago. They didn't listen to you. They totally needed their translators. They were predominantly male, and now a month ago I was before a totally new audience, boys and girls alike, very young, all with their tablets, typing what I was saying, gniffling when I was making practical jokes in English, so they didn't need translation. It can go very, very quickly, that spontaneous interaction. So I'm sure that if in a few years from now I visit Turkey again, I will see the difference.
I see that. I believe. So, as I know, you are experienced in IP disputes, litigation in life sciences, chemical and electronics sector. So, our listener audience mostly comprising startups, R&D companies, and TTO professionals. What do you think about to suggest them to follow the IP litigation trends in different sectors to be up to date?
Well, it is there are no, of course, no television channels or other media where you can follow this on a day-to-day basis. There are, however, more and more blogs where IP litigation is being followed. What I often do, I'm a member of the European Patent Law Association, EPLO. They have a pretty good website where the most important case law is being published. Very often also in the English translations or in the original version. There are a couple of good IP blogs. Clue International also makes a good couple of good efforts. There is in La Nouvelle, which I mentioned earlier, so the journal of LES, there is sometimes every year a very good overview written
litigation cases
on US litigation cases, and every year also one overview of major IP cases from the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg, in Europe. So what is the relevant case law? It is booming, of course. When I started IP, there was maybe one big case every 2 years. Now it is you need to follow a lot. So it has predominantly become European case law, certainly in the field of design law and trademark law. In patents, it is still national law. I don't know what the accessibility is of case law in Turkey. But there, of course, everyone would be commanded to contribute and to say, well, this is the situation in Turkey. We write a short article about. We publish that in La Nouvelle. And I did that myself. I put Belgium on the list, on the map, on the world map, as a country where patent litigation was possible. When we started Bird Bird, Belgium was unheard about in patent litigation, and we started really to litigate and to make clear through international publications such as La Nouvelle, such as IP magazine, such as WIPO magazine, that a country like Belgium existed. The judges were keen to contribute, the judges were keen to make the judgments available. I chaired the editorial board of an IP journal for many years, and the judges know that it is important also that case law is communicated. So even if Turkey would be today a jurisdiction where there is little patent litigation, this can change quickly.
Yes.
It is a business, it is a people business. It is not a business where the law needs to change necessarily. It can suffice with one or two people who change everything. I always give the example of Holland, where 2 judges, and only 2 judges, actually by themselves, one in first instance and the other on appeal, created a whole cross-border jurisdiction case law that hundreds of other IP litigators in Europe followed because of their way of showing that it was possible, of making the case law available on the internet. And the internet is today, of course, a fantastic way to disseminate information. So I encourage everyone who is practicing in IP to publish or to talk about what they do, because that is a very important way of connecting. It's not because you're in an SME or in a TTO of a smaller university that you cannot be heard.
Yes.
Your voice can be heard always. And it is not the country that you belong to or the size of the organization that you belong to that determines who is listening to you.
So in Turkey, the litigation cases are not much in comparison with US or Europe, of course. But there are some recent cases occurred in a Turkish startup who is willing to operate in US. They are suited by one of the rival in US to be infringed one of their patents, and then they decided to left the country and turn back to Turkey. So we always suggest to companies, startups who are willing to make a business in other countries, please make a freedom to operate analysis. Be sure to be sure not to infringe anybody's patent. Otherwise, it doesn't similar with the Turkish ecosystem. It's very hard, especially in US. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that could be the wake-up call for many companies who have a peaceful life in Turkey and then want to explore the foreign market and then for the first time face a patent. That is true. The country where I come from and where 80% of our national product is being exported, that is not an issue. But indeed, the awareness of IP and the freedom to operate is something very important, and very often that is only an issue when you start exporting.
Yes.
Now, Turkey has this specific situation that it is not in the European Union.
Yes.
Yet, if I may say so, but it is in the European Patent Organization. So it is a member of the European Patent Organization. So the patents that are granted by the European Patent Office are valid and can be enforced also in Turkey. So it is with one foot in the European patent culture. So that makes that there is in Turkey a whole generation of patent lawyers, patent attorneys, who are active in that profession and who I think are the very best first contact to know whether freedom of operate is available. Because the best way to know if you have freedom of operate in the patent field is also from time to time to patent yourself by filing yourself.
Yes.
Because by filing yourself your own technology, you learn through the search report, which by the way is the cheapest and easiest way in Europe and in the EPO and therefore also in Turkey, to know what the state of the art is of your competitors.
That's right.
Because an FTO search can be expensive, true, but a patent search report of one of your own inventions, which you have normally between 6 and 9 months after filing, give you for a relatively cheap fee an excellent overview of the state of the art of the other patents in your field. And that is very often the first wake-up call for a company to say we are not alone on the market.
Yes.
And we should either try to have a better patent portfolio protection or reach out to other companies for seeking a license or whatever. But it all starts with that search. And that search gives a good view on the FTO analysis of a company. And I'm sure that the patent attorneys here in Turkey know that.
Yes.
And recommend that to their clients. And if you're working, of course, in a university, in a TTO, you may have less of that problem for your own institution, but for the startups,
exactly,
they need to know that as well. And so creating that culture and encouraging these companies to invest in this sort of expenses is necessary and very helpful.
Thank you so much, Bruno. It's a really fruitful conversation. I'm really happy to be in this podcast together. I think we will see each other at the end of October in Istanbul again,
yes,
right?
Yes, indeed. I will be in Istanbul.
Maybe we can announce this event.
Yes, it is indeed it is a conference on one hand on intellectual property in Turkey. Actually, as you said this morning to the audience, at very affordable rates.
Yes,
very
cheap for the Turkish participants.
And then in the weekend of 19 and 20 October, and there I will actively participate. There is a training course organized jointly by LES and the European Patent Office.
Exactly.
And that is very good that the European Patent Office is also investing a lot, is making efforts to disseminate knowledge, and they have found LES as an ideal partner to do that. So the European Patent Office is sponsoring the venue, and LES is delivering the speakers and the content providers.
Yeah. We will also write down the exact link of this training. So Bruno will be the one of the trainer in this event. It will be organized in Istanbul after the IP conference organized by the Bosporus University. So this intensive training is a joint event by EPO and LES International in the support of LES Turkey in dissemination.
Indeed.
So thank you, Bruno. I'm really happy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution in our podcast.
You're
See
welcome.
you tomorrow again in IP Camp.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yes, guys, see you then. Please follow us on Patent Effectivity accounts, and please write down any comments if you have any questions or any other contribution. Please shoot us an email or tweet. Thank you so much, and see you later in the next episode.